Hello, my name is Kayla Adams, and this is my older adult oral video presentation for Social Work Class 501. For this presentation and for this assignment, I decided to interview a family friend who is a female and at the age of 65. Just a little background on my interviewee. She's a 65-year-old retired she was an accountant who worked for a healthcare company. She has 2 children and has been married for 40 years. My interviewee, throughout our entire interview, often referenced back to her adolescence when discussing stories throughout her older life, from adulthood to older adulthood and retirement age. Because she seemed to be so affected by what happened in her adolescence, and it was so ingrained in how she reacts now in her current situation, I decided to specifically target her adolescence as the life stage that I would focus on for this assignment. Because adolescence is a rough time, she was easily able to come up with 2 examples of what she experienced in her adolescence that led to how she views the world today. This developmental stage, adolescence, is marked as a time when we are exploring and developing our sense of identity, when we were starting to move away from our parents as the only idea of what is right or what could be, and integrating new roles. Maybe they're outside roles like celebrities, maybe they're internal roles, or maybe they're community roles, but roles that are outside of those that we're used to. Many young people are integrating more identities when it comes to celebrities as their role models. So this is changing now. But adolescence typically begins around age 10 or 12, depending on who you ask, and lasts until age 18 or 22. Because there are so many biopsychosocial changes taking place during this time, problems can emerge between individuals, their families, their community, and even internally. Because this is the time when we're trying to identify what we feel is right, what we feel is wrong, or what we feel is better for us, this is a time of internal and external conflict. Because we are still legally dependent on our parents or guardians, there are many issues going on because we do crave independence during adolescence. This will be evident in my interview with my interviewee. During her adolescence, my subject went through her menstruation or puberty. This happened when she was 10 years old, which is it was very early, especially during these times. And it caught her off guard. She started to develop sexual characteristics like large breasts, hips, and she grew taller. At the same time, during this stage of adolescence, she started to really take a hard look at the religion that surrounded her. My subject is from Salt Lake City, Utah, which is very, very substantially called the epicenter of the Latter-day Saints religion, or Mormons. Coming from a very Mormon family and growing up in a state that was 65% Mormon, this was a difficult time because she started to question whether this religion was for her and move away from the faith that she had known her entire life. Some of the challenges she experienced during this period regards to her sexuality were boys who were very inappropriate with her. Because she developed breasts first and other sexual characteristics, she got a lot of inappropriate things happening to her. People were touching her, name-calling, and all kinds of things when it comes to a young girl who was going through puberty. At the same time, she was being told by adults in her life that because she was starting to develop into a woman, she couldn't no longer do what she liked. She couldn't play the sports she wanted. She couldn't do the things she liked to do. They were telling her to stop behaving like a boy. And because of this, there was more fear that came with her body as it was changing because she felt she couldn't be herself anymore. The other challenge when it comes to her religious questioning was finding her own answers in a state, community, and family that only ascribed to one religion. At the current moment right now, Utah is about 65% Mormon. While back when she was much younger, the percentage was much higher when it came to the population that was Mormon. So you can only imagine how difficult it was for a young girl between the ages of 10 and 16 to really question the status quo and the religion that everybody around her was ascribing to. So these are the two prominent challenges that stood out to her when she was in her adolescence, and that she still today thinks back on when discussing religion or discussing sexuality with anyone, including me. She went through a psychosocial crisis when it came to understanding herself as a sexual being, while at the same time trying to fight it in a way. She did not want to be treated differently from other people. She just wanted to be treated like she used to be. She wanted to hang out with her friends that were male without getting any different treatment. But this was proving hard because of the attention and the interest in what was happening to her. This was a crisis of not letting her sexuality define who she was, which we all know is very difficult. Her other psychosocial crisis was evident in her questioning of the common religion and how she would or wouldn't allow it to be a part of her identity. This was very difficult for her, as I said, because from her point of view, moving away from her religion also felt like she may be alienating her family and her community, which she was very close to. It's very difficult to move away something this ingrained when it comes. It's packaged with such a robust community and support system, and that was something that she did not want to lose. So these were the two crises that happened during adolescence that stuck with her very, very much. The resolution came, though it was difficult, and she needed some help. But because of her upbringing in the time she was going through this, around the 50s and 60s, she had no idea what was happening to her. Her mother had not told her what was going to be happening to her body. Her mother didn't tell her about periods, so everything just kind of happened to her with no information. So that was really a big crisis point there as well, and it made it a lot scarier. Luckily, she was able to turn to her older sister for guidance in this area. Because her sister had been through it, had gone through puberty, she was able to turn to her sister and ask for help in understanding what was happening to her. So that played a big part in the resolution here when it comes to this crisis that she was going through of what is my body doing, what can I expect, how do I deal with it, understanding what is happening in your body and dealing with it in a healthy way, even just physically. It's very difficult, so it was good that she had that. At the same time, the deep religious culture surrounding her, it was much harder for her to break away from the church. The losing the community and connections was something that she did not want. Luckily, she also had an older brother who had left the church years before, and he was able to kind of show her that it really was possible for her to make up her own mind about it, and decide what was best for her. So it was nice to have someone who could show her, yeah, I left the church, but look, I'm still part of the family. I'm still very much involved, while also adhering to what I feel inside is part of my identity, or not part of her identity, which she did not feel the church was going to be a part of her identity as she moved through adolescence. So that was very helpful. Some of the things that also contributed to this psychosocial crisis was sexism. And sexism is that stereotyping and generalizing about women and men who can go through sexism too, and treating them in particular ways based on these stereotypes. So this probably played a really big part in how she was treated as she was sexually maturing. Because she was told many times by adults that now that you're becoming a woman, you need to now do certain things. So if it's washing the dishes or helping around the house or cooking, that really moved her away from doing the things that she loved, which was, playing outside, playing sports, roughhousing with the boys. But she was told repeatedly, you're a woman, you can't behave like a boy now. And this stereotyping and generalizing about how a woman needs to act definitely made this crisis worse. It was hard enough that she was being treated differently by her peers, and even harder that she was being told by her role models and adults that yes, indeed, you are different now, and that means you have to change your identity, which she was not prepared to do. Ageism also played a big part in her religious psychosocial crisis. Ageism is a negative attitude toward aging or younger people. Old people get ageism, and younger people get ageism as well. And it was really just that belief that younger or older people should function in a certain way, or what they can physically do or what they can mentally do. So this probably played a big part in when she was deciding, I'm ready to leave the church. I'm sure that many people, when she questioned or when she told people that she was like, I'm not sure about my faith, that they simply ascribed it to she was young. She didn't know what she was talking about, and she needed to kind of figure that out. So this was really good because, this was a big player because she was told, you don't know your own mind, right? In a time when we are literally trying to understand what we believe and what we identify with. She had, again, role models and people older than her telling her, because of your age, you cannot tell us what you think is right for yourself, which obviously also added to this psychosocial crisis and resolution. At this point, the way she really resolved this resolution was leaning on the strength that she had. And that support system came in the form of her siblings. So when it came to her older sister telling her, about her body and what was happening, this was super helpful because she didn't have anybody else doing that for her. So this really solidified a bond between her and her sister. She spoke in depth about how she was extremely close to her sister, and though she's passed away now, she wishes she could ask her many more questions about this time in her life. So this usage of strength created an even stronger bond between her and her sister. She also leaned a lot on her brother, who played a vital role in her decision to look away from religion. And he was able to support her and show her, again, that it is possible to move away from the religion without losing out on the support and community that came with the religion. I also wanted to use Pinier's theory of cognitive development to take a look at what was happening to her during adolescence. Pinier's theory says that adolescence is a time when we really learn to use hypothetical deductive reasoning and thinking and logic. And I think this is pretty evident in her moving away from religion because for her, she was thinking logically and she was seeing a bigger picture that didn't meet reason standards for her when it came to thinking critically. So this is very, very evident in this time for her and this light. She was able to move away from the religion, and this is evident by Pinier's theory of cognitive development and how she developed the ability to review what she was being taught. At the same time, her ability to accommodate her schema about who she was when it comes to her body and sexuality played a huge role in understanding the bodily changes and getting past this crisis. Pinier's theory about accommodation really fits into, okay, this is what I thought I know, and she replaced that with the information that she was given and able to accommodate that. So that is at play for sure.